For the last few years, we have been benchmarking all of our CPU coolers on top of this sucker right here. This is a Thermaltake P5 and I have this case for years. I bought it in 2018, something along that line, and at some point I transformed it into the CPU cooler benchmark machine that you can see right here. Inside we have a 3900X locked at 135 watts. And this whole setup has a lot of freaking problems. First off, the distance between the CPU and the bracket where AIOs or radiators are supposed to be installed is, that's a bit long. And because it's a giant case and you're not supposed to install, entry-level coolers in here. However, because we benchmark all types of coolers, we had the situation where the tubes were just not long enough. So in those cases, I needed to install the AIO on top and then strap it down. It was a nightmare, but it was what I needed to do in order to perform a full benchmark test on given coolers. Gillet Liquid 120 would be an example. The next problem with the setup was that if I benchmarked a, let's say, low performing or badly performing 120 AIO, or also 240s, but mostly 120s, and the AIO did not have a VRM cooler, like for example on the Liquid Freezer 2 series, what happened was that the VRM started to overheat at some point. And then you saw huge voltage drops, and then the whole thing thermal throttled as hell, and the test was skewed. So what I did back in the days was just install a fan like in the middle of the top here, and partially the wings were still blowing some air into the heat sinks of the VRMs, and it somehow worked. It was very wobbly and very dangerous, and I killed one or two fans just by letting them fall onto this part here, but overall I somehow managed to make this work. However, the big problem with this setup is the load that we put on. We are locked to 135 watts, not necessarily because I really want to, but because the 3900X doesn't really allow me to go that much higher. That would make a difference. And we've been called out that our CPU cooler benchmarks are done on a very low amount of heat being generated, and I fully accept that. I think those people were right. Nowadays, when you have a 13700K pushing 260 watts, a 3900K pushing infinite amount of watts, it's a different world nowadays, and this machine just doesn't reflect the amount of performance needed to keep a chip cool nowadays. That's really true. So we are in dire need of an upgrade, and that's exactly what we are going to do today. Especially because I already butchered the hell out of this machine. Like, the GPU is missing for weeks. I stole it to install it inside the Octopus, like the radiator fan benchmark machine. So this thing doesn't work for weeks. I just butchered it months ago, and I'm truly kind of sorry. So what are we going to do? You may have seen in other videos, I don't know when this will come out, that ASRock sent us over a little gift in form of the Z790 Taichi. Now, I contacted them and asked, do you have a mainboard that somehow survives 350 watts permanently for hours without dying? And they said yes. So this is what we're going to use. They sent it over specifically for that, and I really hope that it can survive that amount of power going through the socket for hours and hours and hours. Now the next question, and that's really what hurts me today, is what CPU are we going to use? And we are going for a 3900K. Now this really hurts me because I only have one, and for my benchmarks machines, once the CPU or whatever is being benchmarked all the time is in, I'm not going to take it out. So the moment this is in the socket, it will stay in the socket for the next 2-3 years. So essentially I am losing the 3900K. It's traumatizing, but we need that type of load because the plan is to artificially lock it down to certain amounts of watts. Let's just say 100, 200, 300. Let's say we are going to do something like that, and then we are benchmarking every cooler on 100, on 200 and on 300 in order to see how these coolers evolve depending on the workload. This is fairly important for low budget coolers. Like, it doesn't make any sense to test a single heatsink 3 heat pipe cooler on 300 watts. It won't survive, but maybe it will do a spectacular job on 100 watts. And that's what I'm trying to distinguish in the future. However, at the same time, I need to be able to push the workload up and up and up in order to test things like the Arctic Liquid Freezer 420. So that's why the 3900K is just the best option, because it's the only chip that I own that can push 350 watts permanently. And that really hurts because it's a freaking expensive chip, but I hope this will be worth it. The next part that hurts a bit is RAM, because we do not own like a vast amount of DDR5 RAM. We have like 2 kits, and one is the kit that AMD gave us back when AMD 7000 launched, the new Ryzen chips, and those are quick as hell, so I'm not going to use those, but I'm going to go with the Kingston Fury Beast because I need some kit, and I just don't have any other one which are not performing exceptionally well. However, that's not such a big issue because somebody hooked us up now with V-Collar, and apparently they will be sending over a bunch of DDR5 kits, so we are going to restock in a couple of weeks. For the power supply, I found the perfect candidate. This is the Be Quiet System Power 10, 850 watts. This is not really a unit that is meant to be sold to the public. It is being sold to the public, but they are targeting this more to like OEMs and system builders, integrators, whatever, because there is just no feature on this power supply except for it being 80 gold certified, but that's like the only thing it can do. Everything is attached, it doesn't look particularly good, there is nothing special about it, but it will be able to hopefully power this whole thing, but we will see about that. For the GPU, I'm not going to slap in a 4090, that just wouldn't make any sense. I need a display adapter, and from my original case fan machine I was able to steal this slightly modded GT210. I think this is a GT210? Yeah, something 210. And originally I had a little fan on there, but because I was recording noise inside of that case, I removed the fan in order to be 100% passive, except for the fans that I'm measuring. I have no clue where the fan went. It has been like 2 years since I removed it, but I do remember that this was cold enough to just play display adapter for hours and hours and hours without overheating. So this is going to be fine, or at least I hope so. We have HDMI, and really for just benchmarking coolers, I do not need more than just a display adapter with HDMI. That's plenty. But there is still one thing remaining, and that was the big trouble, the reason why we didn't do it months ago, because I was still looking for a good case. Because the problem is I need to be able to quickly switch coolers, I need to be able to quickly install AIOs, I need to be able to install 420s, 120s, everything in between, big coolers, small coolers, everything. And at the same time I need to be able to install and remove backplates without having to remove the motherboard. And considering that on many cases a LGA1700 backplate is not really movable, very often that's the case, that caused huge issues for me. I looked at dozens and dozens of potential benchmark machines, like for example that Open Test Bench, OCB, something like that, version 2, seemed very interesting. However, there was a problem with 420 support, and it didn't look like it would survive me installing a Liquid Freezer 420 on there. Which is why it never was considered to be a candidate, and I had to look further and further. However, last week I found something from Johnspo, the TB01. Now, I didn't use this case before, I have no clue if it will do what I need it to do, but until now it seems like this is the perfect candidate. It supports 420 radiators, or spec sheet wise it supports 420 radiators, it supports big ass air coolers because it's open from the top, it's an open test bench. The hole behind the motherboard seems to be so big that I can install and remove LGA1700 brackets without the need of removing the motherboard. 420 and backplate, those are like the two requirements that I need. Plus, it can't be wobbly anymore. I'm done with wobbly. Like the whole thing with the P5, no, that just destroyed me way too much. I need something strong. Now, the case came in a relatively good, let's say, state. However, if you wiggle the box, I just hope those are screws. I have no clue what awaits me. In the near future, we are planning to do a dedicated review on this one. However, due to it being like a test bench case, I thought it would be best to build it today in front of a camera for the first time, experience the whole thing, and then later on do the whole review part instead of testing the case, building in it off camera, and then making an opinion, writing a text, and then later on, no. Oh good, those were screws. Because it seems spec-wise like a thoroughly interesting case. However, I thought because it's a benchmark machine and a benchmark case, I thought it would be best to unbox it in front of a camera and test it, and then later on do the whole review, although I already filmed how I built in it. I think for a test bench that makes a lot of sense. Great. Now at this point, there is already something that makes me very, very happy. Back in the day, I had a Lee, whatever the name was, test bench machine, and was horrible. That thing was f***ing horrible. I needed to put every single screw in myself. It was like a do-it-yourself kit. It was, no. And this is already something that makes me very, very happy that it comes pre-assembled. That saves so much time. It looks significantly better than I expected. Yeah, this looks good. Or at least it's strong, yeah. Yeah, I need to assemble a little bit of stuff, but it doesn't seem like it's really a lot. Like this box only contains the bracket for the GPUs, but I do understand that because some CPUs have integrated graphics, we won't use them because otherwise my benchmark will start to stutter. But if I only need to connect that, I'm fine. 2 screws. I'm done, case is ready. Now, originally when I saw the case for the very first time, I thought this was the stupidest thing ever, because look at where the radiators are supposed to be. One is here and the other one is there. Now, if you're thinking about installing an AIO, think about it. You have the AIO up top, then you have the tubes, and then you have the radiator below. Basically everything is dying by default. The pump is at the top, which is really, really stupid. However, this thing has a feature, and that's 80% of why I bought this one, because I can unmount. Look at the other side of the spec sheet. Come on, show me how I can do it. No. Yeah, I can unmount this, which makes it swivelable for a reason beyond my understanding. I can remove it, and I can reattach it. Help me, where can I reattach it? Oh, I need to remove the pieces that make it swivelable. Reattach those right here. Yes, and now reattach these two. Is this meant to be this way? I hope not. Oh, okay. I installed these two the wrong way. Does this make... Yes, I took the wrong side. That was my mistake. Or their installation guide is kinda crap, also a possibility. Okay, and now moment of truth. Okay, and now look at this. I can open this all the way up, and if I mount a radiator to the back side, it can be as long as I want it to be. This supports 140s and 120s with the length that I want to use. Nobody cares. Look at this. I can completely close this thing all the way up, and I can secure it with this screw, which I will now never unsecure probably, because I can also just flap everything on here. But this is exactly what I needed. Plus, look at the distance between the radiator and the pump, the head, the whatever. This is minimal. This will always work. Plus, if I am testing AIOs, they will be blowing air onto the VRMs. So, and onto the GPU and onto everything else, which may not be the best type of air, but that's not the point. The point is how much the AIO can cool, and the AIO can pull in cold air from the outside, the cooler can pull in cold air from here, and I can test everything normalized. Oh my god, this case is exactly what I needed. And I just want to secure this. Yet I need to have a look later at the screw and how I can secure this. But for now, the Jonspo TB01 makes a damn good impression on me. Oh my god, oh my god. So what do we have else than this great thing? We have a few holes that seem to be usable for like water reservoirs, whatever. We have two of these brackets. Originally one on the left side, one on the right side, but now we have two on the bottom side. Sorry, yeah, top, bottom. It looks, but the mainboard will be sitting like this, so this seems to be the bottom side. What else do we have? We have cages for older DVD drives. We have cages for hard drives, if I see correctly. Yes, we have 1, 2, 3, 4 hard drives. Yes, 4 hard drives. We have buttons, which is not always a given. We have USB Type A, USB 3.0 Type A. We have audio in and out, and we have USB 3.0 Type C. We have exactly what I need. This is exactly what I needed. But okay, before I start crying on camera, let's just build the PC, or build the motherboard essentially, and put everything in, and I can finally resume testing stuff. At some point there will be a video or 2 videos about the Taichi, because I was so sad that ASRock sent me over a Taichi motherboard and I will just slap it into a benchmarking machine and never see it again. So I decided to give it an overview, and I decided to give it a quick build inside the Fantax G500A, which is the reason why the motherboard is already used. And there is already an SSD in here. Originally in the G500A build, I was planning to use a Samsung SSD, and if you watch very closely in the video, I am swapping the SSD at some point, because I walked past the low budgety SSD and I was wondering why the hell would I use a Samsung SSD, a good M.2 SSD for a benchmark machine. So I quickly swapped it out. I installed some random ass, I don't know, 128 gig I think, which is plenty for what this will do later on. So, and yeah, CPU is in, RAM are in, we are kinda done. I don't even really know why I am as excited as I am about this. This is a benchmarking machine, and I'm behaving like I would get a new gaming PC as a child. All the spacers are in. Yeah. This one is missing. Oh no. Oh no. I don't have access to all of the 4 holes. Oh no, the hole is too small for LGA1700, or the positioning of it. This is an issue. I will need to remove the motherboard every time I want to remove a cooler. No, we are not doing this. I'm sorry, Jonspo, for the act that I'm about to do. And I'm kinda sorry for the B-rolls that are going to be created because of what I am about to do. But this is necessary. For the sake of me being as effective as I can be doing this job, I need that hole to be bigger. Let's put this somewhere where it's safe. There it's safe. So this hole needs to be... Let me show... Yeah, I'm sorry. Oh, nice feet. So this hole is too small in this direction. So I basically need this. And I think you know where this is going. Never do it the way I just did it. Look at what's left of my... Okay, please do not repeat this. Please always wear proper safety gear, like glasses. Just never do this, please. Please, I don't want to be responsible for whoever loses his eye. But hey, the hole is now big enough. I need to open the window for a minute. There is so much... Oh my god, this stinks in here. Whew. The motherboard is back in, and you might not see it, but the hole is now big enough for me to install and remove. It was horrible what I just did to this poor little thing, but it was necessary. This was a necessary evil in order to achieve what I am trying to achieve here today. Yes, yes. Yeah, USB 3, I don't really need that, but why the hell not? Audio, who the hell cares about audio? I read in a bunch of reviews about this case that people were nagging about the length of the audio cable. And A, why the hell would you need an audio cable? And B, it's not a length problem, it's a problem of getting it to the front. There is not really a hole for that. Yeah, and sincerely, I don't care about audio, I just won't connect audio. But start, stop and everything that we need. Blip, blip. Reset. Power. Dip, dip. What is missing? What is missing? Actually, nothing, just the GPU, and the GPU doesn't need power. So let me just tidy all of this here up. Almost ready. Just missing the amazing GPU. All of that displaying power. Ta-da! The whole thing is ready. And it is arguably now exactly what I need it to be. Oh, this is amazing. I can position them and remove them without removing the motherboard. This is exactly what I needed. And oh my god, is my desk dirty. Like, did somebody notice on camera that the whole thing started to smoke while I was cutting it? Like, I think it was the paint. The paint started to smoke, which would explain why it smells so burned in here. But I need to clean the room now. But this worked flawlessly. Now we have exactly what I need, and I can start benchmarking again, because I need to re-benchmark every cooler that we have ever benchmarked, given that it needs to be compatible with LGA1700. Everything what's older and doesn't fit on there would just be ignored. Sorry, but that's how it's going to be. And the first thing I wanted to start with are Arctic Liquid Freezer. The whole series actually, because I really wanted to see how they perform compared to each other based on the workload that we put onto them. Because in my benchmark you can see that the 420 and the 280 are extremely close, and this 360 for some reason is really far behind. And I want to get to, or I want to understand why that is happening. I think it's because of the workload, but we will find out once I tried everything in here, set the different workloads that we're going to work with, and then we'll make a video about it. But for today, this is going to be it. I will make the review about the Johnspot at some point. A couple of negative points because I needed to cut it to make it work, but at least we had a fun time. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed it, and if you want to continue watching, have a look at the Octopus series. I don't know if every video is out yet, but that's also quite interesting, and I hope to see you in the next one. Bye bye.